What is up, YouTube? We are back with another video yet again, and as you can see by the title, we are going to be talking about how training to failure took me from this to this in just a couple of months, right? It was just like such a little tweak in my workouts, a little tweak in my routine, and it ultimately changed really my whole gym trajectory, right? My gym progress and the results that I saw. So I want to share it to you guys because it personally helped me see so much more gains than I was seeing before in the gym. So let's not waste any more time and let's get into the video. First point I want to go over is understanding what pushing to failure means, right? Pushing to failure means you're fucking completely gassed out. Not 3 to 4, 2 to 3, another rep in your system, right? When you're training to failure, you want to be pushing out those reps till you can't, right? Say you're doing bicep curls, you're curling, right? Your arms are getting tired, they're getting burnt out, right? And you're doing those half reps. And then when you stop and you can't do those half reps anymore because you're completely burnt out, that's when you achieved failure, right? Going in there with the mentality of I'm gonna push this muscle past the limits, right? The failure, not this other fucking BS thinking you're going to failure and you still have a little bit more reps, because ultimately, truly, you know if you're pushing yourself to failure. A lot of you guys are scared to go to that point, which if you're scared to go to that point, please rethink your life decisions, man. But, right, your mind-muscle connection gets deeper. This is one thing that has really helped me, right? Before any of this, right, before I started training to failure, my mind-muscle connection, right, it really wasn't that deep. But when I started pushing to failure, I was forced to lock in because I was pushing that muscle to failure. So those last couple reps, right, I was really looking at the muscle as I was pumping the iron, and it ultimately helped me connect more with the muscle, because a lot of you guys are looking around during your sets, looking at all the females, looking at all the girls, right? And it's ultimately costing you gains, right? Because you're not putting your all, you're not putting your full into these reps. Every single rep counts to me. Whether you guys think it or not, it counts. Every single fucking rep you put into that gym, it fucking counts. So training to failure is key to building that mind-muscle connection. I feel like it's one of the easiest ways to do it, right? Number 3, drop sets truly helped me achieve failure, right? If you struggle with going to failure, you don't know if you're really at that failure mark, just go to the drop sets, right? You push as hard as you can, right? And you feel like you have a little bit more left in the tank. Drop set that shit. Go down like 20 pounds, right? And pump out some more iron, right? Drop sets are one of the keys to muscle growth too, right? I do it in almost basically every single set that I have right now. I'm always doing drop sets. I'm always pushing to failure, right? Leads me into my next point. With these drop sets, right? And with pushing to failure, it ultimately pushed me to a mindset shift, right? I thought about the gym different. I was lifting different. I thought about everything else different because I was pushing past my limits. I was putting my all into something, right? And a lot of you aren't putting your all into absolutely anything. You're scrolling on TikTok, you're in your bed, you're watching Netflix, right? You don't have a business going, like, you're not even focused on school. Like, you're not putting your focus into anything. So, right, if anything, put your focus into the gym. So ultimately, man, it just led to me just pushing myself in anything in life, because, you know, if I can go through the pain that I was going through in the gym, I can push through anything. I can push through building up a business that takes time. I can push through all these challenges that I do on my Instagram if you haven't seen them yet, right? I can push through anything in life if I can push as hard as I can in the gym, if I can train to failure, right? Ultimately just builds you into a more just disciplined person overall, because a lot of people do not want to achieve failure, dude. They don't want to go to that place where it fucking hurts. They're just sissy boys, right? So don't be a sissy boy. Start training like you fucking mean it, right? I was able to eat more after my workouts. This really, really helped me on my bulk, right? Because I used to always be full, you know, my meals weren't really spaced out, and training to failure, putting my all into the gym, it helped me burn more calories in general, helped me break a sweat, and I felt hungry after the workouts because I was putting my all into it. Before, I was putting like 60-70% into the gym, right? I was doing the classic 10 to 12 reps, you know, 3 to 4 sets. I wasn't pushing myself as hard as I really could. And when I started training to failure, I found that I was much more hungry and I was able to eat more, which ultimately helps me on my bulk, which ultimately helps me lead to my transformation that I had, right? So feeling fulfilled is one of the best things in the world, especially when you come out of that gym, you leave that gym and you feel fucking fulfilled. You feel like you put an honest days of work in the gym, right? And training to failure does exactly that. You know you put in work. You know you trained your hardest. You know you left every bit of sweat, blood, and tears into that gym, right? Get higher quality reps. This is something I noticed, right? Because I'm more focused on going to failure. I'm getting the last bit out of every rep that I could, right? Because when you're in those like 10 to 12 rep ranges, you're just pumping the iron, you're counting in your head the reps. But when you're going to failure, you're not fucking counting those reps, right? You're more paid attention, you're more locked into the muscle that you're building. You're more locked into the mind-muscle connection, right? Because you're not fucking sitting in your head counting the reps. You're really just fucking pumping that shit, you know what I mean? It's the best. I can't really describe it. You just have to try it for yourself, right? Right? It gave me a huge strength increase. This is something I really didn't expect, but like honestly, from wrestling season, which was a couple months ago, I'll try and put it on the screen how many months ago it was, right? Till now, right? I was just barely benching 225 wrestling season, right? And now, since I started training to failure, I'm almost at a 275 bench in only a couple months, right? And to me, that progress is amazing. Yeah, I know it gets stronger over time by going to the gym, but I feel like training to failure and burning out those muscles for it to grow back the next couple of days, even stronger, even better, it really helps me in the gym with my strength. Get better gym pumps. I love the fucking gym pumps that come out of training to failure, right? When you fucking push that shit and you see the veins popping out of your arms, it's the best feeling ever. You know you're getting better and you just have that fucking big juicy pump. You pull out the phone to take a photo. It's just an amazing feeling. You can't even describe it, right? It also helped me stop ego lifting, because I had a lot of back problems with like squats and all this other stuff. But when you're training to failure, you have to lower the weight. You're gonna have to drop the weight because you're getting higher volume in the gym, right? Which ultimately leads to you dropping the weight and getting more reps in. And unless you want to become this big strong man, you want to compete in strongman competitions, right? You will drop the weight, I guarantee you, because training to failure, man, sheesh, man, it requires a lot of energy and a lot of work. And if you combine that with heavy fucking loads, bro, I promise you, it will not end well and you will get injured, right? It exposed my weak points. This was a big thing, right? When I started training to failure, I paid attention to what muscles really burnt out quicker, and it exposed really all my weak points. Now I know, and I'm more focused on what muscles I really should be focusing more in the gym and what I should increase reps in, because I ultimately trained to failure, and that let me know quickly I burnt out what I need to do, how I need to adjust. And that takes me back to one of the reels that I posted, right? Always adjusting and always learning, right? Because when you're always learning and adjusting, right, you're constantly putting in work in the gym. You're not going to get bored. You're not going to start being inconsistent, right? Because you're learning. That's why we're in school for so long. We're always getting fed new information, right? We're not getting fed the same information. That's why we keep going, right? So the same thing applies in the gym. Keep learning, keep educating yourself, and you will find yourself staying more consistent than you were before. Training harder and build discipline. This final point is self-explanatory, right? I was training harder because I pushed to failure, and it ultimately built my discipline so much, right? I suggest you all try training to failure at least one of the days you go to the gym. Just try it out, see how you like it. But ultimately, it led to me growing this much in a couple of months. So I hope you guys can see the same progress with it. But definitely from now on, there's always going to be a set or reps that I push to failure, no matter what type of workout I'm doing, no matter what day it is. It's always going to be some type of workout that I'm pushing to failure. And I also learned this through Greg Plitt, right? I watched a lot of his videos, right? He pushes basically everything to failure and he uses a lot of high volume. That's why his physique is so defined and so muscular, right? Because he pushes to failure. He uses so much volume, right? And when you're not pushing that much volume and you're doing like 3 to 4 reps, you're gonna get big, but you're gonna get like bulky type of big. Your muscles aren't gonna be as defined as somebody doing 14 to 15 reps or pushing to failure, right? So that's something that I've been personally working on, and I have been noticing myself getting a little bit more lean, especially on this bulk. Trust me guys, do not dirty bulk. Your fucking abs will go away, and it's just a bad disaster waiting to happen. So just lean bulk, stick to the diet, right? You only need like 300 to 400 calories above your maintenance for your lean bulk, and you'll still see your abs and you'll be looking good while also getting bigger, right? But this is the end of this video. I just wanted to talk about how training to failure truly improved my life and improved my physique in just a couple of months, right? Just a small little adjustment changed really my whole life just like that. So I'll see you guys in the next YouTube video. I'm probably going to try and record another one today to get my 3 videos a week mark. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.